and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the situation of the suffering church around the world. The Republic of the Philippines has a Christian population of about 90%, most of them Catholic. Through the years, the church has had a prominent role in the life and development of the country, a country of immense wealth in natural resources, yet unfortunately is marked with severe social and economic differences. To know more about the work of the church in the Philippines, it is my privilege to welcome to our program Father Gregory Gaston. He is director of the Philippine College in Rome. Father, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much, Jonas.
Father, 80% of the population in the Philippines declare themselves Catholics. This must be a blessing in terms for the church, but also quite a challenge to serve so many people. What do you think are the main challenges that the church faces serving to the Filipino community?
Well, I would like to divide these challenges in two parts. First of all, within the church, as usual, I think wherever the church is, we need a lot more doctrinal formation, spiritual life, apostolate. So we have to encourage our Christians, our Catholics, to really live their faith well. On the other hand, there are also challenges from the outside in society. So as we see, poverty, all this corruption, challenges, lack of education, lack of work, and so on. So these are all challenges, not only of the people in general, but also of the Catholics that we have to try to help give a solution to.
Father, now we're going to see a short video that we prepared about the work of the church in the Philippines. And here is a short video, a country profile of the Philippines.
The Philippines is an extensive archipelago of over 7,100 tropical islands, which harbor a diverse array of wildlife, idyllic beaches, and an almost endless list of unique landscapes. Often backed by typhoons and other natural disasters, the Filipino people captivate the visitor with their unwavering optimism and vibrant Christian culture. The Republic of the Philippines is located in Southeast Asia, with China and Taiwan to the north and Vietnam to the east. Despite being known for its beaches, much of the country is mountainous and prone to earthquakes and eruptions from around 20 active volcanoes. The fast-growing population of an estimated 100 million people mainly inhabits large cities like Manila and Davao. The Philippines also claim a large diaspora of over 12 million people who send regular and vast remittances to their loved ones back home. The Philippine economy ranks as one of the region's best performers. Services and manufacturing have gradually taken over from the once dominant agricultural sector. The rich Philippine biodiversity offers beaches, mountains, rainforests, islands and diving spots, not to mention the country's significant historical and cultural heritage. Despite the positive economic growth, 26% of the population still lives below the poverty line. Unemployment remains high, and underdevelopment in rural areas has left most Filipinos behind. These negative facts are further exacerbated by natural disasters which pummel the archipelago every year. The pre-colonial societies of the Philippines had substantial trade and other contacts with India, China, Japan, and other developing nations in Southeast Asia. By the 1300s, Islam took root on the islands of Sulu, Mindanao, and eventually spread northwards to Luzon. The Philippines were subsequently colonized by the Spanish, receiving their name from the then King Philip II. The archipelago was then ceded to the United States in 1898 and only achieved independence in 1946 after World War II, when it became the Republic of the Philippines. The post-war years are unfortunately best known for the notorious regime of President Ferdinand Marcos and his wife Imelda. His 21-year rule was characterized by political repression, censorship, embezzlement of billions of public funds, and human rights violations. Today, the Philippines have a stable democratic government, a constitutional republic with a president as head of state. Challenges still remain in certain regions, notably on the island of Mindanao, home to almost 5 million Filipino Muslims who seek regional autonomy. After a 40-year insurgency, the government signed a peace deal with the Muslim rebels, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front of Mindanao, in March 2014, thus ending the violence, which has cost an estimated 120,000 lives. The Philippines is the fifth largest Christian country in the world, with about 93% of the population calling Jesus their Lord. It is also the biggest Christian country in Asia. The Roman Catholic Church in the Philippines traces its roots to 1521, when the Portuguese navigator and explorer Ferdinand Magellan planted a cross on the central island of Cebu. Magellan met with Raja Humabon, ruler of the island, and after curing his ill grandson, was allowed by the Raja, as a token of gratitude, to baptize 800 of his subjects. The Hispanic-influenced custom of holding fiestas to honor a saint or a particular shrine has become an integral part of Filipino culture. One of the most colorful remains the Santo Niño de Cebu celebration held at the end of January. Most Filipinos are very religious. Their belief in God lies at the foundation of many aspects of their lives. Every Sunday, churches are filled to capacity as the faithful gather for prayer. Shrines like the 400-year-old Black Nazarene in their Quiapo Church Minor Basilica of Manila see thousands of followers every day, giving thanks for all the blessings they have received, while the annual procession draws millions of people, forcing the city to declare the day a holiday because of the extreme congestion.
In 2021, we would recall 500 years when, the missionaries, when the Spaniards came and they celebrated the first Mass, and we did the first baptism in Cebu. The faith of the people, it is a faith that even in the midst of calamities, it's a joyful faith. We are a people who celebrate with songs, with smiles, in our face. We are still a community which gather for devotions, novenas, rosaries, masses. And whether they are Filipinos at home or people who go abroad, when there are Filipinos, then they know that they will go to church and sing, with a loud voice.
The faith of Filipinos has been seriously tested in recent years as natural disasters like the Bohol earthquake and super typhoon Haiyan devastated parts of the archipelago. Thousands of lives were lost and countless homes destroyed. Super typhoon Haiyan displaced nearly 11 million people. Entire coastal cities like Guian and Tacloban were leveled to the ground by extreme winds and storm surges. Churches in which the faithful have worshipped for generations have been severely damaged, as well as seminaries, convents, and clerical residences. Rebuilding is a colossal task, and help from outside is urgently needed.
Here in the Philippines, we have the word bangon, meaning to say rise, or rise up. And we thought we can rise again, And this is a firm conviction in our hearts. Many of us are still roofless, many of us are still homeless, but certainly we are not hopeless. The presence of so many people, agencies from all over the world coming over, telling us, we heard, we see, what happened. We are with you in solidarity. And we say thank you. With your help and with our efforts, we will rise again.
Welcome back to our program, Where God Weeps. Today we are with Father Gregory Gaston. He is the rector of the Philippine College in Rome. Father, it's very interesting to see these images of this very popular religiosity of the Filipino community. You think that it only manifests in these popular devotions, or there's really a true sense of commitment to their Catholic Christian faith?
People in general are really committed and they want to live their faith well. However, we see sometimes that they have to be redirected a little, they have to be formed a little more. For example, maybe they think that praying is enough, or having all these images, and then going to Mass on Sundays would be another thing, or going to confessions. Maybe they know about it, although maybe a little more opportunities, because if they have to work the whole week, maybe they get tired on weekends, or maybe they still have to work, and they, little by little, they give less and less priority to the Mass, for example. Although deep inside, I would say that they would really want to go to Mass. For example, before Christmas, we have our 9-day novena, 9 days of early morning masses. So people would go, you would be surprised, young people, students, they would try to complete 9 masses, 9 days of 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. masses. And you would see the churches, they're filled with people, and some big churches would even have 3 such masses, starting at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're all full. And so people deep inside would like to really live their Christian faith well, but we have to help them do so.
Father, we all remember these images of the Holy Father, Pope Francis in the Philippines, who was very moved, not only the expressions of love from the Filipino people, but also he was touched with spirituality, we might say, of the country.
The people in general, they also manifest their faith in terms of, for example, knowing how to suffer in spite of all the difficulties. For example, after a typhoon, that big typhoon, that area where Pope Francis visited. So a few years earlier, it was badly hit, damaged, totally wrecked by the typhoon. And in fact, the agencies that helped those areas had a little difficulty. Why? Because whenever they want to document all the devastations, they would take pictures, and you see the kids, they're all happy, they're all smiling, they're all, in spite of all these tragedies, people are still happy. Maybe because they're used to having so little, that the little that they lost was not really that significant for them, and they still continue with their life, and they're still happy. And this is, I would say, a result also of our Christian faith, knowing how to suffer. But sometimes it would also go to another extreme, that they suffer in spite of injustices, that they don't complain anymore, they don't know how to complain, and in this sense, we also have to help them.
Father, what is the situation nowadays with the current president? It has been a little difficult, we might say, some frictions in some of his statements related to the Church, even to the Holy Father. Are these only words that, they have an impact, but not really actions that could affect the work of the Church? Or what is the situation?
I would say that, well, just like any person, we all tend to wish to do what is good. And I'm sure President Duterte has all the good intentions. He wants to help people. He wants to eliminate drug addiction. He wants to eliminate whatever ills in society there are. And with that, we could really praise him for all his good intentions. On the other hand, we also have to look at the means on how to achieve all this. If the means used are good, then the Church would really collaborate with that. For example, when it comes to rehabilitation, you would be surprised how many dioceses, parishes would have their centers for rehabilitation. Also, honestly speaking, maybe awakened by the President's call to fight against drug addiction. So they were also mobilized in line with this, and there's a lot of collaboration. But now when it comes to other questions such as killing people because they're drug addicts, or instead of helping them, or maybe going after the little people but not the big ones, or maybe reimposition of the death penalty, which has been eliminated in so many countries and which has been proven as not a deterrent to crime, then we have to express our opposition as our prophetic role as a church, and that is what the bishops are doing. That is what the Church is doing.
Father, and I wanted to ask you precisely about the drug problem. Is it really that big of a problem for the country? Are there that many people involved in the consumption and in the traffic of drugs in the country, in the Philippines?
Well, the data that I have would be the data that everybody would have from the media. And I would say that even if only one person uses drugs, then I would say that's a big problem already. But if we have thousands, or maybe, I don't know, if millions of people involved in this, then it's really a big problem. But we also have to not only focus on the drugs. There are so many other problems, prostitution, lack of education, lack of proper housing, and so on. And we have to try to not simply punish, eliminate these people committing crimes, but as the Church would teach, the aim of punishment is also to convert the person. Instead of killing that person, give chance to that person to convert and to do good. And we have so many stories also of conversions, and that even the great saints many of them have been great sinners, and we never lose hope in this.
That is the whole goal of prison, rehabilitation, not just
punishment.
Mere punishment
Yes,
for the crime that is committed. Father, we have to also mention poverty levels in the country, which are pretty high in terms of numbers, and pretty low in terms of the level of income that some people have to survive on a daily basis.
Yes.
Why is this happening in a country so rich with natural resources, with oil, with agriculture, with, you know, some fertile land? Why is this happening, Father?
I would say that the policies would affect the people a lot. Even though the simple people, they would like to work, they would like to plant, they would like to harvest, they would like to, they have all these energies and they have all the will to work. Sometimes the opportunities would simply not be there. Or we cannot discard the fact that maybe they are being used by other people. And this can also be translated not only to the personal level, some people using other people, but even to the international level, political level. Maybe some countries are taking advantage of other countries, and this would also affect not only the country as a whole, but the system, the mechanisms, the economic structures moving there, and eventually it would also affect the people. That's why the church has always been, the popes, the teachings of the church have always been talking about solidarity, talking about equality, justice, and all this. And we have to, little by little, also try to implement this not only on a personal level or in a certain company or in a certain city, but also in the whole world, solidarity, international solidarity.
Father, and these conditions of poverty, of lack of resources, is really the main reason why a lot of Filipino people have migrated. The Philippines has a really large population all around the world of what it's called economic migrants.
Yes.
What is the impact? I mean, evidently, the money coming to the Philippines is good.
Yes.
So of course, that's a positive aspect of this. But what is the impact in the family, for instance, Father, with the separation? If sometimes the father, sometimes the mother, sometimes both of them have to leave the children.
Yes.
What is the impact of all this?
Yes, this is very, very, I would say, dramatic for the families, especially for the children. I heard Cardinal Tagle, the Archbishop of Manila, saying that in other countries, the spouses separate because they no longer love each other. In the Philippines, it's so often that the spouses separate precisely because they love each other.
That's a bit painful.
Yeah, exactly. Simply because they can't help the family back home, then they have to leave. And they have to separate. They are tempted by all these invitations from outside, even from their own relatives, people from their own towns, inviting them, oh, come over, there's a lot of work here, and so on. And of course, they earn much, much more abroad than back home in the Philippines. But again, that's the impact, what will happen to their children, to their families. So in my case, I always encourage them as much as possible. Maybe after you save, try to open a business back home, try to see how you could invest back home. And then even if here they earn a lot and then they send the money back home, if the money is not properly utilized, not properly invested, then they end up without any money after working years abroad. So we try to tell them, try to spend your money wisely, try to save, try to invest, and try to start something back home, or if ever, then bring your whole family here, because it's really, the impact is really great, especially on the children.
Can you give us examples of what happened to these children growing without their parents?
Yes. For example, in many cases, the children would be closer to their aunt or to their grandmother, grandfather, than to their own parents. Yes, that would be sad. And also, for example, the mother is abroad, and her work is to take care of children. So the whole time she's taking care of children of other families, remembering her own children back home. So as she feeds those babies or those children abroad, then she is reminded of her children back home, whom she doesn't see. So all these are really dramatic for them.
And children that might not be receiving any care
Yes.
at that moment.
Yes, exactly. Because it's really different to be taken care of by your own parents than by other people. Of course, in some cases, we cannot avoid that other people who would have to help out, would love to step in, although if it's possible, then as much as possible, then the parents would be there.
Father, and what would you like to be the idea that our viewers, our audience, keep in mind about the church in the Philippines?
I would say that the church in the Philippines has a missionary role to bring the gospel message, first of all, to the people within the Philippines, but also outside the Philippines, to Asia. 60% of Asians, Catholics, are Filipinos. So more than half of the Asian Catholics are Filipinos, so imagine.
Wow, that's a very relevant statistic.
Exactly, that's a huge responsibility. And we also tell our lay people, the migrants, when they go abroad, they always bring with them the Catholic faith and live it not only personally, but also share it with people. So here in Italy, we hear so many stories of Italian families. They're so happy because their Filipino or Filipina employee would bring their children to the church. On the way to the school or to other places, they would pray in the church 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and they would teach catechism, they would teach the prayers. So this is also one mission of Filipinos.
What a great positive influence in the world.
Exactly.
Filipino people have.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Father, for being with us for this interview.
Thank you so much, Jonas, and thank you to our viewers.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in another program of Where God Weeps. If you want to know more about the work that the Church is doing in the Philippines and in other parts of the world, we encourage you to contact the information at the end of this program. Thank you, and God bless.